The Cleveland Browns are currently 2-6 as I record this video, and they just suffered a tough loss against the New England Patriots, 32-13. This upcoming week is a bye week for the Cleveland Browns. It will be smart of Kevin Stefanski, the head coach with this organization, to bench Dillion Gabriel, to give Shedeur Sanders the first team reps, and to let Shedeur Sanders be the starting quarterback for the foreseeable future. Over the last 3 weeks, Dillion Gabriel has been a terrible starting option for the Cleveland Browns. And this is a player that has been given first team reps. He has been given more opportunities in the offseason than Shedeur Sanders. And I fully understand that was always going to be the case. They selected him higher in the NFL draft than they did Shedeur. I know where Kevin Stefanski stands, but if he wants to keep his job, you have to see what you have in Shedeur Sanders, because right now the Dillion Gabriel experiment is not working. He is a terrible starting option to have. He is slow on reads. He's overthrowing wide receivers, and he's underthrowing wide receivers as well. He's going to get wide receivers hurt. To give him credit, his first start against the Minnesota Vikings overseas, he performed very well in that matchup, in my opinion. He was late on certain passes early on in that game. But as the game went on, he got more comfortable. He took what the defense gave him, and he did have 2 passing touchdowns in that matchup for 190 passing yards, 19-33 on the day. He played well enough for them to win that game, and the same with their defense. But Quinshon Judkins did majority of the work, and that's okay. Work off of play action, work off the run game. And that is what Kevin Stefanski did from the first all the way to the third quarter. But late in the fourth quarter, he said, I'll be damned sticking with the run game. We're going to force Dillion Gabriel to be this passer late in that game against the Minnesota Vikings, and that is what lost them the matchup. You had the run game going, but terrible clock management with terrible play calls towards the end of the game with Kevin Stefanski. He lost them that game against the Minnesota Vikings. But that has easily been the best game that Dillion Gabriel has played up to this point in his career. The next week against the Steelers, if you just look at the box score, you will say that Dillion Gabriel did not play bad. But if you go back and you actually watch this game, he was downright terrible. And if this was any other quarterback that performed with the Cleveland Browns, Kevin Stefanski would have pulled him before halftime. He was 29 of 52, 221 passing yards, 0 passing touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He did get sacked 6 times, but he easily had 7 passes in this game that should have went for interceptions. The Steelers, they could not come down with the football on the defensive end. That's why those players are defensive players at this level. If you could catch the football at an elite level, you'll be a wide receiver. But he was late on passes. He misread the defense, and he held on to the football for a very long time. And these are all critiques that people have used in the past with Shedeur Sanders when it's the complete opposite. The only thing with Shedeur Sanders coming out of the college level, he will hold on to the football for a very long time. But he was very accurate at Colorado. But Dillion Gabriel was downright terrible in this game. He should have easily pulled him, but he stuck with him. Dillion Gabriel was getting wide receivers hurt in this matchup because he's throwing them right into coverage across the middle of the field. And when you cannot protect yourself and you cannot protect your teammates, you have to pull them out of the game. But Kevin Stefanski, he stuck with them. And once again, another busted game plan with Kevin Stefanski. Instead of playing through your run game, you have your rookie quarterback throw the football 52 times against one of the best pass rushing units in all the NFL with TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, Cameron Hayward, Keanu Benn, and Herbig. And you have Jalen Ramsey blitzing from inside the slot position constantly. He didn't help his rookie quarterback, but Dillion Gabriel has to help himself on the field as well. Now, the next week against the Miami Dolphins, you may have some Dillion Gabriel fans that may come out and say, well, you know what? He didn't have an interception or a turnover in this matchup. He played good. He was 13 of 18 for 116 passing yards. You beat one of the worst teams in football. Your defense did majority of the work. All Dillion Gabriel did was throw the football behind the line of scrimmage and throw the football to the tight ends. That was it. They didn't need him to go out there and to be the elevator of this franchise. It's a good win against the Dolphins. But at the same time, Dillion Gabriel didn't do much. Joe Flacco could have did this for you. And you traded him to the Cincinnati Bengals. More on that decision later on in this video, which was a dumb decision by Andrew Berry and crew. But Dillion Gabriel was not the main reason why they won this matchup. And in today's game against the Patriots, those interceptions finally caught up with him. He had 2 terrible interceptions in this game against the Patriots. He was 21 of 35 for 156 passing yards. He did have 2 passing touchdowns. But this is clearly a quarterback that cannot throw the football deep down the middle of the field. He can't throw the football across the middle of the field in general. So what defenses are starting to do, we're going to take those outside routes and we're going to sit on top of these wide receivers. And he panics inside the pocket. He doesn't have elite athleticism to make plays outside the pocket. And he feels like he can go out there and he can thread the needle every single time into tight coverage, and it's just not working out. Dillion Gabriel could have easily have 11 interceptions up to this point in time in the season. And he's only started 4 games for the Cleveland Browns. He is downright terrible. But this is Kevin Stefanski's guy. This is the man that he gave first team reps to when Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett were still on the roster this offseason. And the same with Shedeur Sanders, and they had to bring in Tyler Huntley because Dillion Gabriel was dealing with an injury, and the same with Kenny Pickett. They didn't just want to thrush Joe Flacco out there for every single game in the preseason. Instead of splitting those reps between Shedeur Sanders and Dillion Gabriel with the first team, he went all the way in with Dillion Gabriel. But it's time to go out there and pivot from that game plan. And look, if he doesn't want to pivot from that game plan, he can stick with Dillion Gabriel. But I guarantee you this, Dillion Gabriel will not be the starting quarterback with the Cleveland Browns next season, and Kevin Stefanski will not be the head coach of the Cleveland Browns next season. Kevin Stefanski is seen as his offensive coach, and he has done tremendous work in the past. But we're talking about right now. He's one of the worst head coaches in football. Your defense has been spectacular in every single game this season. You're first in total defense, third in passing defense, fourth in rushing defense. Myles Garrett had 5 sacks today. 5. He was phenomenal. Game record. He should win Defensive Player of the Week. And you still lost this game because your quarterback cannot throw the football down the field. He doesn't have timing. He doesn't have anticipation. He can't read NFL defenses. And he doesn't have a strong arm, not even close to it. He's just not good enough to even work off a play action. They made Quinshon Judkins a non-factor. And they said, Dillion Gabriel, come out here and beat us. And he just couldn't do it. And instead of pulling him and putting in Shedeur Sanders, he stuck with him all the way through. This is the definition of a stubborn head coach. And I know what Kevin Stefanski has done in the past with Baker Mayfield. They went to the NFL playoffs. You can say, well, they won that playoff game over the Steelers, even though he didn't coach in that game. He was dealing with a pandemic issue. But we'll still give him credit for having that team prepared that season. They made the NFL playoffs a couple of years ago. He calls in Joe Flacco off his couch. All of a sudden, now people believe that this man is an amazing head coach. That's not the case. He had a terrible game plan with Deshaun Watson, a quarterback that was rusty. Missed an entire last season with the Houston Texans, was suspended for 12 games. His first game with the Cleveland Browns, let's give this man 35 pass attempts. That's the Kevin Stefanski way. When the Cleveland Browns are obviously a team that should be built around the run. That was the case with Nick Chubb. That's the case now with Quinshon Judkins. But instead, he's hell-bent on trying to prove a point with Dillion Gabriel, and it's not going to work. And it's not all on Dillion Gabriel. It's not all on Kevin Stefanski. Jerry Jeudy has had a lot of drops this season, unfortunately. Isaiah Bond, you see the potential is there, but he's not ready to be this consistent number 2 just yet. David Njoku has been in and out of the lineup dealing with injuries. If his quarterback was not throwing him into coverage every single play, he'll be able to stay on the field more. And Harold Fanning Jr., they've put him in the backfield as a running back, as a fullback at the tight end position. So it's clunky right now. But in the same breath, this is Kevin Stefanski's offense. And the offensive line is a problem, especially at the tackle position. You have that. But at the end of the day, Kevin Stefanski is an offensive head coach. You figure this out. I felt like Shedeur Sanders was a better quarterback at the college level than Dillion Gabriel. And a lot of people don't actually pay attention to college, and it proves it every single time they talk about the Shedeur Sanders and Dillion Gabriel situation. Just because you won a lot of games at the college level doesn't mean that you're going to be a very good quarterback in this league. A.J. McCarron won a lot of games at Alabama. He was not a good quarterback in the NFL level. We have seen this with quarterbacks that come over from college. They're winners. They go to the college football playoffs. They win championships. They come over to the NFL. They get exposed every single week. But Dillon Gabriel is not good enough. Maybe as a backup, he'll be fine. But as a starter in this league, he has been putrid. And his numbers don't tell the full story. He's inaccurate, can't read the field, just can't process fast enough. And if Shedeur Sanders isn't your franchise quarterback, that's okay too. You have 2 first-round picks in this year's draft class. But if I'm Haslam, the owner with this team, I will make sure that Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski are not the men to make that decision this time around. I will fire both of them. Because you look at Joe Flacco, you traded that man from this organization. You trade him to the Cincinnati Bengals. He goes over and immediately he looks better against the Green Bay Packers. They won that game against the Steelers. And even though they lost today against the New York Jets, Joe Flacco has looked significantly better with the Cincinnati Bengals than he ever has this season with the Cleveland Browns. The offensive personnel is better with Jamar Chase and the same with T. Higgins, but the coaching is better with Zach Taylor. And I don't think that Zach Taylor is a great head coach in this league either. But right now, he's a better head coach than Kevin Stefanski. They have more offensive structure and they have an offensive scheme. The Cleveland Browns, they don't have that. They're just calling plays. And you have Tommy Rees as an offensive coordinator who is a young mind. Let him call offensive plays. And this is the thing with Kevin Stefanski. They have moved on from offensive coordinators in the past. Now he's calling offensive plays. And when you're a head coach and you're calling plays on the defensive end or on the offensive end, and that unit is one of the worst in football, it's time to have that conversation about you as a coach. Do you actually know what the hell you were doing? But today's loss against the Patriots, I believe that he lost the locker room. You can see Myles Garrett on the sideline throwing his helmet. He's upset. Carson Schwarzenegger, he went down in this game. He had a very good matchup. The same with Tyson Campbell. But you can see those defensive players' faces on the sideline every time they get a stop. They're rolling their eyes or shaking their heads. We have to get right back on the field because it's a 3 and out. Or we have to get right back on the field because it's a turnover. Look at what happened against the Steelers. They were so upset in that matchup. And part of me, I do feel for Myles Garrett. He's going to be a Cleveland Brown for life because he signed that contract extension this offseason. He didn't have to. He could have just said, I'm going to play out the rest of my contract. After this contract ends, I'm going to leave Cleveland because he did request a trade. But they told him, we're going to pay you this amount of money. Just be quiet. Be a Cleveland Brown for life. And he took the money instead. But part of me, once again, I do feel bad. This is an all-time defensive player. He's an all-time great. We're watching a Hall of Famer right now have his career wasted with this organization because they cannot figure out the quarterback position. And it's the same thing that happened with Joe Thomas, one of the best tackles that we've ever seen. His career was wasted with the Cleveland Browns because they could not figure out the quarterback position and they could not figure out the offensive end. You've had 41 different starting quarterbacks since 1999. So a lot of these problems were happening way before Kevin Stefanski and the same with Andrew Berry. But at the same time, you're brought in to fix the problem. But instead, they've made the problem worse. You trade Joe Flacco to a division rival in-house at that. So now the Cincinnati Bengals are, I'm not going to say a true threat, but it's a good chance that the Bengals will go out there and they'll defeat the Cleveland Browns with Joe Flacco when you had him on this roster. And he was willing to stay on this roster. And Kevin Stefanski tried to make it seem like Joe Flacco was the main reason why the offense could not work. The main reason why this offense can't work, players can't catch, the offensive line can't block. But at the same time, Kevin Stefanski, you can't coach on the offensive end, and you have no idea what the hell you're doing. But let me know in the comment section below, is it time for the Cleveland Browns to start Shedeur Sanders, or should they stick with Dillon Gabriel for the rest of the season? And before I let you guys go, a report did come out, and I believe that this is a false report, that they will start Shedeur Sanders for the final 4 games of the regular season. I hope that's not the case. What's the point? At that point in time, a lot of teams, they've already made the NFL playoffs. The seedings are already what they are. They'll be playing against backups. You're not getting a true read of Shedeur Sanders at that point in time. Let him start for the rest of the season after this bye week. And if he's not your guy, you select the quarterback in this year's draft class. And I look at the quarterbacks in college right now, not the best options. All the analysts came out, their chest out. They were saying Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward, just a weak quarterback class. This quarterback class isn't that good. This year will be better. This year doesn't look better. You have Mendoza. That's pretty much it. Garrett Nussmeier doesn't look good out of LSU. Arch Manning, look at that situation in Texas. So it's a lot of quarterbacks right now that are veterans in this league that you could potentially bring in this offseason. But this is just a bad situation all around for the Cleveland Browns. But if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, I want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for the video, guys. God bless. Peace.